Hey guys, this is Butch from the Vintage Media Grading Podcast. And before we start, I just want to give a shameless plug to Vintage Media Grading. VMG is your source for grading, authenticating, and slabbing your precious vinyl records. In addition, we offer a host of other services, including cleaning and sticker removal, as well as soft grading, which is a way to get your albums graded, but still allow you to spin your records and listen to your tunes. Come visit us at www.vmgvinyl.com to place your orders, or feel free to contact us at info@vmgvinyl.com. Hope you enjoy the podcast.
I said pull over by the stop sign.
Oh, sorry, you'll have to forgive me. I can't hear a damn thing. Went to a rock concert last night at the Garden. My seats were right up against the speaker. It's a heavy metal group, Metallica something.
Ka.
Huh?
What? Ka.
My ears are still ringing.
Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Vintage Media Grading, the podcast. This is yours truly, Andrew Hoffman, and I have with us here Paul and Chad Brayman and Butch Harwood. How's it going, guys?
Very good.
Great. It's been a hot minute since I've been on the show. It feels weird, but Butch, you did a wonderful job running the helm. You're great.
Agreed.
I don't care what Paul says. So cool. So yeah, really good episodes. Appreciated the break. Get some work done here. But tonight we're going to be talking about Metallica. So the Metallica discography, some of those things. But before we jump too deep into that, how's our record collections going? Have we got anything new that's worth mentioning?
After our Pearl Jam conversation, I was disgruntled that I didn't yet own the original singles vinyl, so I ordered that. Came in yesterday, came in great shape.
Nice.
From Europe, from Great Britain. And very pumped with that. The sleeve is near mint, so that's
awesome.
First thing I look at every time is the sleeve. I care more about that. I'll cut that part out when I say I don't listen to the actual album. I like the sleeve.
I'm the same. I think that goes down to our card collecting roots, that you want the nice mint sleeve.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the key is to have both. I'm kind of the opposite. I will it depends on what I'm getting it for. So like one of the albums I'm going to show tonight for Metallica is a wonderful playing album. The vinyl is really good condition, but it's kind of a beater on the sleeve. So I just bought it knowing that it would be a player. So
I don't know what it is. Like I just, the fact that I need the sleeve to be in mint condition. It just drives me crazy if it's not. Like I can handle if the album isn't in mint condition because I'm not looking at it. But if I pull it out and look at it and it's not mint, it just drives me crazy.
You see, you have more patience than I do though, because me, it's like, hey, I've been looking for this album. Like the fear of missing out, the FOMO kicks in, and I'm like, maybe I could buy it now, and then later down the road, I'll find one in better shape. But
shockingly, I've actually done that with a few, because you think once you buy it, then you won't buy it. But I have upgraded quite a few. I upgraded my Jar of Flies recently to a really mint one, and I upgraded my Super Unknown to a also very mint one, and sold the previous ones. But for the most part, once I check it off my checklist, it's probably not coming back.
Yeah. Well, if you check off the checklist or the want list, then you have to make sure it's the one that you want.
Right.
Moving forward. Not to go down a rabbit hole here, but I just was looking at some Instagram feeds on that new Jar of Clay's reissue that's going to be coming out because of the anniversary, and there was an interesting channel that showed other like alternate photos or like other photos that were from the photo shoot for the front cover of Jars of Flies. It was really cool.
Jar of Flies, yeah.
Yeah.
Not Jars of Flies.
Yeah,
Josh
yeah.
Clay is a just different band.
It's basically the same thing. Awesome. But what does Alice in Chains have to do with Metallica?
Well, let's see. Yeah,
there's no music trivia that I have that could connect.
Actually, I mean,
form, they sound like were they in the
I feel like
that 91
hold tight.
tour with Guns N' Roses?
Oh no, it's Soundgarden. Was it Soundgarden with Metallica?
That was Soundgarden.
Yeah, but I mean, early Alice in Chains, the facelift era was. I mean, they were kind of leaning into 80s metal, and even kind of pseudo, kind of a halfway between Metallica and 80s glam. If you look at their outfits on the facelift album, they look like much less grunge, much more 80s metal.
Yeah, it's really cool. In fact, I was in preparation for this episode. I was refreshing my ears on some of the old Metallica stuff, the older stuff, and I was listening to "Ride the Lightning," the song "Ride the Lightning," and I actually remembered why I liked that song, and that's like one of the albums that really got me into Metallica is because "Ride the Lightning" actually reminds me a little bit of Nirvana. It has like a Nirvana feel to it, and just like the guitar riff, the feel of the song, even the vocals. And I'm not all the time, but I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash for that.
I got to check that out. I was going to say you might be the first person ever to correlate "Ride the Lightning" with Nirvana.
It does. When I listened to it, I was like, man, it kind of reminds me of Nirvana. And back when I listened to that album for the first time, I was, Nevermind was all over the radio. So yeah, I kind of related the two together. None of the rest of the album sounds like that, but it sounds really good. So cool. So we're talking about Metallica. Who wants to go first as far as?
I'll
Chad,
go.
you and go for it.
Yeah, you're going to talk about the earliest stuff. So
yeah, so similar theme to all the other podcasts, as everyone knows, my collecting, what I gravitate to is early releases, and if there is ever a pre-release, anything that would be pre-commercial success. And Metallica actually had an album like that. It was on a compilation album early before their first release in 1982 called Metal Massacre. And the cool thing about this is a few cool things. One, there's multiple pressings of it, and the first one is truly unique. It has a different version of the Metallica song on it called "Hit the Lights," and then it was re-recorded on the second pressing. And what I thought was really cool is Dave Mustaine actually plays on this song. So I always heard from like the VH1 Behind the Music and the story of Metallica. Dave Mustaine started in the band, but got kicked out or quit before they actually released an album. He's actually on that song, both versions, the first pressing and the second pressing. So that's cool.
The first pressing of it, he shares lead guitar duties with the original guitars. Can't think of his last name. Lloyd was the first name. I got to look it up.
Lloyd Christopher.
Lloyd Christmas.
We don't need that much of a tangent. So Back to the Future, guys.
Yeah,
never mind.
And a bolt of lightning.
Lloyd Grant is the guy's name. Guitars.
Glad you cleared that up. There's a few other notable things on the first pressing. It's easy to tell. It's not a big mystery. The Metallica is actually spelled wrong, which is kind of cool. And the first track on the album is different on the subsequent pressings. It's a Steeler song, "Cold Day in Hell," is on the first pressing, and then "Chains Around Heaven" by Black and Blue is on subsequent pressings. And then later ones, like the third, or I don't remember exactly, third or a later pressing, there's a Rat song on it that was left off on later pressings. So that's the album that I want to that I would be most interested in. Not necessarily because I'm a huge fan of "Hit the Lights," but just the fact that it's early, it's pre-commercial success, and it's the first pressing is fairly limited. I think 2,500 copies of that.
Mhm.
So it's a with millions of fans all looking for something that only had 2,500 of. It's I think it's something that is a must-have if you're a Metallica collector, Metallica fan, and the fact that Dave Mustaine plays on it for some reason I find very cool.
It's also cool because it's also Rat's debut. That's the year before Out of the Cellar, so it's Rat's like first release too, and Rat was huge the year after. I mean, they were popular before Metallica was super popular. I mean, people kind of forget that in the early 80s, metal was mainstream. The number one album in the country was Metal Health. So it's like heavy metal was mainstream radio and Billboard top hits. So Out of the Cellar was a huge hit in 83. Metal Massacre came out in 82.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I've seen Rat. Big fan of Round and Round.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the only Rat song you probably know?
I think there might be a ballad. If I heard it, I know it.
No ballads from Rat.
No ballads for Rat.
No.
I bet. Do they sing "Way Cool Junior"?
Yep.
Yeah, there you
go.
Classic.
More, again, exposing my poserness of only liking hits. So clearly,
For the lip, Rat had a lot of hits. You would know if you heard him. Rat had some good.
You got to listen to a little bit more Hair Nation, Chad, instead of Lithium all the time. On that's where I learned most of my, and I guess they're not really deep cuts. They're deep cuts for 80s hair band posers like myself and you, but they're probably not deep cuts for. Go
Chad,
for it, Drew.
Chad, do you know if Hit the Lights on Metal Massacre is the same recording as Hit the Lights on their No Life to Leather demo tape?
I do not.
I'm not sure either, because the very first version of it, Hetfield plays bass on the first version of it. It's before they had a full-time bassist. And then the second pressing is when they have a regular bassist, not Cliff Burton though, a different bassist,
like Roy something.
Yeah,
but they gave the credit to Cliff. So yeah, that was a weird thing about that demo tape. I'm actually looking for one of those. It's not vinyl. There's one for sale on Discogs right now for over $400 though. So I don't think
it's like a set, right? They had a couple, I think, cassettes before.
The cool thing about it is that if it's legit, it's an actual demo tape that they recorded themselves, and they hand wrote the label, Metallica, one of them did it, and made this photocopied type sleeve or jacket for it, J-card. So it's kind of cool. I was thinking about picking one of those up if it's in good shape.
Yeah, $400 bucks. $400 bucks.
Are we ever going to have Dave Mustaine on the show? Because will we have him on the show?
Yeah, right after Taylor Swift.
All right, good. Oh, that's right. I don't want to badmouth him, but from everything I've read about Metallica, and maybe it's to the the victors are the ones that write the history books.
Yeah.
But boy, does he seem like a tool. Number one, you get kicked out of the band, and I mean, anytime you're, for anyone who's ever worked somewhere, when someone gets fired, there's usually a good reason for it. They don't just fire people because for bad reasons. But then the band, a jerk, and then the entire time afterwards, he holds this grudge.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like Scottie Pippen holding a grudge against Michael Jordan recently, where Scottie Pippen isn't even.
You might have a better reason to hold a grudge.
He has maybe James Hetfield's child was sleeping with Dave Mustaine's ex-wife. I don't know.
But all right, so we're not getting Pippen. We're
not getting Dave. Metallica. Time after all he does is badmouth the lead guitarist. All he does is badmouth Metallica. All he does is say how much better he is than everybody. Like, dude, you got kicked out. Come on.
He whines all the time about living in the shadow of Metallica and never living up to it, and it's like, it's kind of your fault, bro.
Right? He blames Kirk Hammett for stealing all his stuff. He says, he's like half the guitarist I am.
Yeah.
Drunk, hammered, and how about having a little bit of self-awareness?
It's tough though. I think if you're in your 20s, rock star, people grow.
As someone who had no tolerance when my drunk friends acted stupid, I'm Team Metallica here.
But surprisingly,
shockingly, somehow I'm now part of a company and a podcast.
Right.
Well, you stopped being drunk a long time ago. I didn't know Chad a long time ago, just so everybody knows.
Actually, he was never a jerk. Actually, always very, very pleasant.
A jovial drunk.
Jovial drunk is true. Yeah.
Now more jolly. No, jolly drunk.
Yep. Chad always could be depended on to have tears in his eyes. He's the guy tells you how great everything is, and
yep. A loving, emotional drunk.
Yeah.
Love it. Paul, what's your pick?
I had a couple things to talk about. The first one was obviously the next album, Kill 'Em All, their mainstream debut. The regular US version of that, nothing really too special about it, other than being the first album. But there was a picture disc released in '83, official picture disc, and they were numbered, so that's kind of cool. There was some numbered. There's two versions: a numbered version and an unnumbered version. The numbered, it comes in just a plastic case. It's got the picture disc with the logo of the album, the Kill 'Em All album, all in red, and on the back has the band, which it looks cool. It just comes in a plain plastic sleeve with a number sticker and also like a parental warning, like a graphic lyrics type of sticker on it. But the disc itself looks pretty cool. So I think for the Kill 'Em All, that's a cool one to get, other than just the regular, black US version.
And from the sticker, I think it only goes 4 digits. So there's at least less than 10,000 of the numbered ones.
Yeah, I don't know an exact number, but yeah, less than 4, less than 5 digits.
And something interesting I found. It's a 4-digit number on there, but something interesting I found while investigating is that now this has not been authenticated by Vintage Media Grading, but in 2010, someone on eBay sold the Metallica. Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually Whiplash. I thought it was Kill 'Em All. Someone sold the Metallica Whiplash picture disc number 0001. I thought it was Kill 'Em All, but it's Whiplash. And that sold for $1,000. But 0001 would have, had I seen that, I would have definitely bid on it just because it seems cool.
Huge sucker for low number serial.
Yeah. Still I Kill 'Em All, but no, it's not.
Hunting for a low digit Rhode Island license plate. It's on my. Every year I ask it for Christmas and birthday, yet to get it. But
people hate being behind me on record store day, because I always pick up all the jazz selections, and almost all the jazz selections are serial numbered, and some of them are hand numbered, and so I go through the stack and one by one look at and compare each one to see which one's the lowest serial number, and there's a whole line of people who've been up all night trying to get their records, and I'm sitting there serial number shopping. It's a major pain.
I get it.
So just going back to the picture disc, we have this is a shameless plug, but VMG has a really awesome way to display picture discs slabbed, because you can see, it's an exposed disc. So, I'm shocked that not more people are sending us picture discs for slabbing. But I think that the Kill 'Em All.
Yeah, we just slabbed an awesome picture disc of a Hulk Hogan album from the '80s that I didn't see before we actually got it, but it looks awesome in the case.
I think it looks sweet.
Picture on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's actually pretty cheap. You can find them cheap.
I'm going to go out on a limb as saying, I mean, we've slabbed, things that have, had values of $75,000. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's the coolest thing we've slabbed. It was right up my alley, and I want it so badly.
It's awesome.
So jealous of it.
Now that Drew's here, I'm sure he'll cut the segment short. But I found the Instagram post ironic because it was Real American. You put the music to, but it was a Japanese album.
Yeah,
with the obi. Yeah, it's an awesome album. It came out great. It's the album itself I haven't listened to, so most likely isn't awesome. But the actual picture disc is awesome. And it's a cool piece of collectible memorabilia if you're into that pop culture or 80s WWF.
And your all's drool is still permanently encapsulated and preserved inside.
Yes. Yep. Well, it's special. It's special that way.
Yeah.
Selfies with it.
Did you spend the night with it at least once?
Did a pose down with it.
There you go. Cool. Well, there's some. Yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
I had a couple other things for that album, for Kill 'Em All. There was one other repressing that came out in the same year. It came out in '83, and on the back cover there's an important logo. It's like one of the record engineering companies or something. The logo is yellow. It's like a misprint logo on the back of it, and then they reissued again with a regular red logo. But that was kind of cool. I don't know if they're worth much, but I like weird stuff like that, misprints and errors. There's a different album that came out later that a whole side is recorded at the wrong speed. A Metallica album, like side 2. I'll talk about it after, but another kind of weird misprint.
Very cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have probably the most vanilla copy of Kill 'Em All. Then it's the first pressing, but and it's kind of clean. It's pretty clean actually, but it has the red logo.
Mm-hmm.
Megaforce Records. And that's the one you really want to look for with the early Metallica stuff is the silver Megaforce label.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to show you that it is an early copy.
Mm-hmm. And Megaforce was their first 2 albums, Ride the Lightning and Kill 'Em All, before they went to Elektra with Master Puppets and before they started their own label in 2012 and released 2 albums. Their last 2 albums released have been on their Blackened label.
Mm-hmm. Ride the Lightning was actually repressed in '84 by Elektra. They must have signed like right after that came out. Yep. So the original is Megaforce, and then there's an Elektra version that came out later that year.
That could be a cool one to get because if they were released the same year, I would imagine the press running of the run of the independent label, the smaller label, is probably much less than Electrica.
Mm-hmm.
So I always like to do a little scan through Pop Psych as to what the most valuable albums are. And for Metallica, the most valuable album is a deluxe box set that was only released as 500. And it was only released to people who won a contest, something called the Metallica Fifth Member Contest. And they had the opportunity to buy it.
Dave Mustaine won it?
He might have been the fifth. Yeah, I guess maybe he was the 5th member. And it was $300 then if you were lucky enough to be able to buy it, but now it goes for between $3,000 and $4,000. So that's pretty intense. It has signed sheet music inside it. So that sealed is their most valuable. And then it goes down to the 1991 self-titled Black Album, which sealed will be between $2,000 and $3,000. And then there's a 2017 Master of Puppets Deluxe box set, which also goes for a lot of money. It's about $2,500. And then you start getting into Ride the Lightning, Kill 'Em All. There's a Death Magnetic box set, which is only out of 50, and that's $1,500. And then Injustice for All is $1,000. The Black Album and Injustice for All were probably the ones that were the 2 that I obviously grew up with. I mean, graduating high school in '97, obviously the Black Album is a seminal album in the lives of people our age, people born exactly in 1979. And Injustice for All, just because the song won, I knew that song from when I was, 9. I remember that song when it came out the first time on MTV and thinking this is, a song about a guy with no arms and no legs. Freaked me out. But very cool song. Great way to end. Great way to end Guitar Hero 2, I believe. Also, might be Guitar Hero 1. I can't remember.
When I saw Chris Cornell a while back, he does a version of 1. He plays the music from U2's 1, but sings the lyrics from Metallica's
cool.
1. It's cool.
That reminds me of something I did not too long ago. About as cool as what Chris Cornell did. And I did it basically just thinking about what Paul and Chad would think of it, is I did a song that had the music of this is so stupid. The music of Silverchair's Tomorrow, and then I sang the lyrics to Yesterday, and then broke it into the music to Today. And it was the dumbest thing. I was so proud of it by Smashing Pumpkins Today. So Beatles Yesterday with Silverchair's Tomorrow and Smashing Pumpkins Today, and I was so proud of this. Like 2 years ago, I brought Vanessa in. I'm like, oh, you got to hear this. This is so great. And
now we need to hear it.
Yeah, well, now I got to I was just thinking about it the other day. I got to re-entertain that. And now that I actually have an actual musician in my family who's 1,000 times more accomplished and talented than I am, and he likes Today. He thought the song Tomorrow by Silverchair was the dumbest song he's ever heard. And he's a big fan of the Beatles. So he loves Smashing Pumpkins and the Beatles, but I got to turn him on to Silverchair. I'm trying to turn him on. He's 13. I'm like, these guys are 16. And they were, a huge deal. And
I love that album.
That was huge.
That was a huge influence for me when I was an early musician. I'm like, look, if these 16-year-old guys could do it, I could do it.
Right.
And it's a great album.
Yeah, it's not great lyrics. I listened to it recently. It's not great lyrics.
No.
Are we ever going to do a Silverchair pod? Because
let's not burn too many bridges here.
All right. Because Frog Stomp, unfortunately, only their original vinyl is green vinyl, but it comes in one of those clear plastic.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I went through a short phase where I was looking for that album because I remember the CD with the frog, and there's no cover art, which is a bummer. Yeah. So never made my want list.
We should do like a 90s one-hit wonder episode with all.
We should, because I basically bought every.
There's
bought
tons
every
of them.
90s one hit. The other one I missed out on because I don't know why, but Hum. Someone finally had Hum, the original, on sealed on eBay a couple months ago, and I forgot to bid on it. That was like the last one I needed.
Bummer.
Yeah, huge bummer. Anyway,
that'd be a good episode. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Going back, I feel like we would be remiss not to discuss the Black Album. Maybe there's not much great about it vinyl wise. But Chad, what were you going to say?
Well, you have that, don't you, sealed?
I did. I bought it sealed from a guy on eBay who, very smartly, he put it up for cheaper than it should be. And he said he'd never sold on eBay before. I sent him got like the eBay notice, that it was up because it was on my watching list. And I, like this miser I am, I sent him an offer instead of just buying it. I don't remember what he had it up for. And he immediately rejected my offer and increased the cost of the album by $1,000. So then I sent him a message. I was like, actually, that was really smart you did that, because obviously you just realized that this is, and then we ended up, he was actually really nice. He was like, I had no idea. He was like, I didn't know what to do, and this is my first time selling. And then like 3 people made me an offer in the first 2 minutes. And he was like, I think this is more valuable than I thought it was. So it came in great, but I ended up, talking with him. We worked out a way that I could buy it.
Yeah, that's a great,
tax.
That's a big one. I think there's you start, not to steal your thunder, but you start to go down the path that there's nothing super special about it in terms of variant, other than it's just not when vinyl was super popular.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It came out in that sweet spot in 91 in those like 2-month range where Bad Motorfinger came out, Unusual Illusions, and Nevermind, and 10, all within like 6 weeks
Blood
of
Sugar
each other.
Sex Magic.
Yeah,
yeah, they all came out at the same. Yep, but I think you would argue maybe the greatest like 3 months in music release history.
Oh yeah,
that.
Yep, for sure.
There are a couple of foreign copies of it where the cover's a little bit different. Like, you know how the US copy is just completely black, but it says Metallica. You can see it.
It's got the snake on the bottom that you can't really see. It's like
some of the international copies, the Metallica is white, so it like pops more. It's not just all solid black. So there's a couple kind of cool looking ones.
I have a Holland pressing on Vertigo Swirl.
Oh wow, that's cool.
The Black Album, and it's a really good sounding album. So if any of our listeners out there are looking for a good listening experience, then the Vertigo Holland pressing is a good one. Not the best.
Is the cover the same on that one, Drew? It's completely black cover.
Yeah.
Listening. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that also a really good, like if you want to experience everything, Black Album, the box set. That's the only Metallica 2015 box set that I have, and it has like all kinds of extra material in there, extra music, whole concerts from that initial tour. Some really good stuff. So if you're a Black Album fan, that might be one that you want to pick up.
Do you guys think, so in the last 2 years, I've been privy to a lot of live bands in, especially like young live bands, teenagers playing at gigs because of my son. And I think if I had to name the 3 most important rock songs of the last 40 years, as far as influence on everybody from our age to older, but also and pop culture influence, and also how much it has been adored by kids who are now in middle school, I would say Enter Sandman has to be in the top 3. Enter Sandman has got to be. That's why it always drives me nuts when I read like Rolling Stone's top 500 songs of all time, and they've got these songs that are like
obscure.
Fight the Power, I think, was like number 1. If you played great song, like I know the chorus a little bit. If you played Fight the Power and just played it, at the DMV, the number of people who would know the lyrics to that song or know anything other than Fight the Power would be about 0. But like a song like Enter Sandman, I mean, every single person knows that song, and the fact that that's not like a top 10 all-time song on Rolling Stone's stupid list always drives me crazy. But I would go on a limb and say that Enter Sandman is arguably one of the 3 most significant rock songs of the last 40 years. Probably top 10 all time, I would say, if I had to put them together.
Yeah, I mean, I could say that about Metallica as a band. A lot of people give them a bad rap, especially Lars, because of his simplistic drumming. But and I'm not comparing Lars by any stretch of the imagination to Ringo Starr, but that's also why people say that Ringo Starr is a bad drummer, because of his simplistic drumming. But I think that like the Black Album, some of the earlier albums leading up to the Black Album, I mean, if I had to choose one metal band, I really like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath. I mean, maybe Black Sabbath will be one of them, but Metallica, I mean, has the most accessible music in their early releases that I can think of. So,
and
at least for me personally,
it's remarkable that they put out 3, thrash metal albums, and then came out with their 4th album, which was basically the Thriller of heavy metal. Like every single song on there is an absolute banger. Mm-hmm. Every single song has incredible melody that sticks in your head. I mean, it's front to back, amazing. I don't know how many singles they had actually released from that album, but I feel like every single song is a single. I don't know if it's just because I listened to the album so much in 1991,
there's at least 6 that are I think, like mainstream hits, and they're all, if I remember right, all clustered together, like one right after another.
Right, and they weren't like 1990s Aerosmith, who was buying hits, from songwriters. They were writing these songs themselves, and they were
which we would
album,
which we totally appreciate. So if Steven Tyler ever wants to do a podcast, Paul's one of Paul's favorite bands, and I'm also
love that early Aerosmith. But it's kind of Metallica always kind of stood alone. Like they came up in that era of the early 80s kind of metal, but you never associate Metallica with Rat and Poison and Cinderella or even Motley Crue.
No.
Quiet Riot. They're kind of on their own pedestal.
They were like Anthrax, Megadeth.
Mm-hmm. Even like a Slayer. Separate level than them though.
They were more, their first three albums, they were, we were a little young for it, but I'm sure if I asked my oldest brother, everybody in the 80s had the kids who loved Metallica. It was like a cliche. There was always the Metallica kids in, from 1985 to 1989 or 1990.
Are the Megadeth kids like rivals, like Star Wars and Star Trek people?
I don't know if more like probably more like Star Wars and Spaceballs.
There's a couple Megadeth songs I like, but
I've actually seen Megadeth. I've never seen Metallica.
I honestly only think I know Symphony of Destruction, but
do they have Rust in Peace, or is that the name of the album?
I don't know. We're making enemies from Megadeth fans everywhere. Dave Mustaine holds a grudge, and we don't want to be.
Any publicity is good publicity. If he can, if he throws a tweet out there hating on the VMG podcast, I'll take it.
That's right. Right.
It just turned total heel on Dave Mustaine.
All right. So, Drew, you have any? Actually, you already talked about Ride the Lightning, I think, or did you have any albums you want to discuss?
So Ride the Lightning was like my starter album. There's a guy that I worked with that got me into a lot of music, and the music that he liked was always really different and weird and underground, but he's like, you need to, if you want to get into metal, get into the early Metallica. And the first album he gave me to listen to, that was back in the CDR days, and I burned a copy of it, is Ride the Lightning. And that's what really got me into them. And I think that was on constant rotation. Ride the Lightning, Justice for All, and Master Puppets were like my three go-to albums for a long time. Then I clicked into the Black Album pretty heavily. I don't have anything super collectible. I have, like I mentioned, the Black Album first pressing on Vertigo, Holland. I have Kill 'Em All first pressing United States. I have Master Puppets first pressing United States. But like nothing super special. I started going down the rabbit hole of the Walmart color variants for Metallica. They were pretty cool. The reason why I liked it is because there's a old promo of Justice for All in green vinyl, and I haven't been able to locate one of those, but the Walmart color variant for it was the green, so it kind of feels like I have a green promo.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. It's the Justice for All. It's translucent brown. The promo, and it was they had a gold foil stamp on them. There was like a promo. I don't know how many were made, but they were numbered gold foil stamped. There might be a green one too. The one I was going to talk about was a translucent brown one that's kind of rare, and it has an audiophile sticker on it and a gold promo numbered.
So it's not that's not the Walmart release. You're saying the original.
No, this one came out in '88. This was an original '88 version.
We've gotten several Injustice for All sealed, I want to say, as submissions, and some of them had a really cool hype sticker on it.
Huh. Yeah. Now that's bothering me. I need to figure out that. I thought that
maybe we're talking about a different album. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought that's what I knew was a translucent brown. There is a green fade to black 12-inch that's like fluorescent green. It's a 12-inch.
There's a green, actually.
That's the beauty of VMG with 4 vinyl experts. When a lot of we check each other's work, and if someone makes a mistake, they call them out, and then someone like Butch will just keep researching until we get the definitive correct answer.
Yeah. So I stepped away for a second, so I wasn't actually listening to what you guys were talking about, but I think I got the gist. I was looking to see what I had. You were talking about Walmart color variations of Injustice for All.
Yeah. Well, and then we started talking about the promo from '88 because
I got you.
I was excited that the Walmart color variant is green.
Right, which is this one right here.
Yeah, that I have the same one, and I was just kind of reminiscing on the fact that the promo is green, but Paul is
I thought it was brown.
Probably smarter than me, so it's probably is brown. I probably read it wrong back when I was doing that research. But yeah, it's so I don't really have like if I had to pick one album that was going to be the album that everyone should own from Metallica to listen to, it would be the Black Album. For collectability, we listed off some really good ones, but their first pressings do sound really good.
I was surprised that Master of Puppets didn't get a uptick after it was on Stranger Things.
Yeah,
that was.
I think it did. I think it sort of did. Not like the Kate Bush song, but I think it.
That was such an awesome scene. I was like blasting it in my house to try to get my kids into it, and they were like, "It's too loud."
I mean, do you mean it didn't get a?
I think a whole new generation of kids discovered it. Yeah. I think
that was a pretty big deal. I don't even watch Stranger Things, and I knew about that.
It was a great scene. That last season was actually awesome. I enjoyed it.
Master of Puppets it's a fantastic. That was one of the first heavy metal songs I can even remember, learning in like probably kindergarten or first grade. That's fantastic. That was, I can't remember if that was the first. I think my brother had Master of Puppets. I think that was the first Metallica album that was in our house. I don't think we had Kill 'Em All or Ride the Lightning until later on, but we definitely had Master of Puppets.
Did anyone look into their later vinyl, like the anything after?
I did a little bit just because I'm one of the only people who liked the Garage Inc., the cover album.
No, I like that album.
I enjoy covers, and I love Whiskey in the Jar and Tuesday's Gone on that. That's the album that had the mispress version where there's a few variants. There's a couple different variants. One of them have only a white label white with just the name of the songs on it. Doesn't have the artwork on the labels on the records. And then there's another misprint where side 2 of disc 2 is recorded at the wrong speed. And it's not recorded at 33 or at 45. So you can't get it to play right. It's
interesting.
Like too slow. It's someone said it's recorded at like 25 RPM, which is unless you have a manual record player that you could set that to, you can't get it right.
Or unless you
never heard it, or
unless you can spin it with your hand at exactly 25 RPMs.
Right. I never heard it. I'd like to actually hear it and see what that sounds like, or I'm not sure how many of them exist, but it's noted. It's out there.
Yeah, that is very cool. I have actually bid on that before and not won it, because that is one that I had the CD of growing up, and I've always wanted the album. I do have Load and Reload sealed. I always loved the song King Nothing. That was kind of one of my favorite songs of the 90s, of the mid to late 90s. I really enjoyed that song.
Hero of the Day is on that too, which is a kind of a big hit.
Right. And then I have Death Magnetic too, although it's sealed. I don't really know much about it. And then their newer albums, I'll probably buy. They just put out an album in 2023 called 72 Seasons. I am someone who
at this moment, are you going to fade into Ben Caught Stealing?
Because whose dog is that?
Is that you can hear that?
Yeah. I do like the reference though, Chad. That almost went over my head, but
I thought you were already splicing in music. I didn't even know what was going on. It's like, what does Jane's Addiction have to do with Metallica?
Now you forced me. I will have to actually splice that in, just so people know what we're talking about. Just like I'm going to have to splice in a little comparison of Nirvana with Ride the Lightning.
Oh,
and
yeah.
If the fans, plural, or many fans, think that Drew doesn't know what he's talking about, please let us know.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing your handiwork on that. You did it really. I was impressed with the last podcast with the Molly that you not Molly.
That what we always take before we do a podcast.
I was that you even found the two versions out there. Apparently, it's not as mystical as we thought.
It is not as mystical as we thought. And yeah, that was my best work. I'm pretty proud of everything so if you haven't listened to the Pearl Jam podcast, please listen to it. Specifically, those who are in charge of podcast Emmys or Grammys. I don't know who gets that, but my editing work on that was top notch. And I expect this one will be no less. I'm getting better and better every time.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks. I agree.
Another modern release that you had to get at Record Store Day back originally in 2013 is the soundtrack for the movie Through the Never.
Yep. And
Metallica did a lot of live recordings on that. And that one goes for about $150 to $200. It's a 4-disc set. But it's worth a little bit, and it's something that you don't normally see on everyone's shelves.
For sure. Speaking of things, go ahead, Chad.
I was going to say, not so much vinyl related, but another cool thing about Metallica was, I don't know why I find this so cool, that they did a concert in Antarctica.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It's amazing. Yeah.
You can keep going because that's all I had on it.
No, that's all I had.
That's great.
I was watching. I don't know if you're watching the new season of True Detective, but it takes place in like northern Alaska. It's kind of reminiscent of Antarctica. It's like Metallica played a show basically at this type of venue, like with just a couple scientists. No one lives there.
It was It was a weird thing because of everyone had to wear headphones, so there was no actual sound in that they were projecting because they were afraid of it like shattering ice shelves or something. Mm-hmm. But I was interested in it because I'm weird and wanted to see if they had a t-shirt or ticket stub from that. I thought it would be a cool thing to have.
So I've never seen a full Metallica concert, but I did see Metallica play live in Yankee Stadium for Mariano Rivera's last. Was it his last day, or was it when they retired his number? I think they retired his number on his last day because they famously were the soundtrack to Yankee relief pitcher, Hall of Famer, greatest closer ever, Mariano Rivera. He used Enter Sandman as his entrance song. And so right before the game started, they wheeled out Metallica on a stage. They didn't wheel them out in like wheelchairs. They're not that old, but they wheeled out a stage and they played Enter Sandman.
There's nothing nothing makes you think of Enter Sandman more than Mariano Rivera 92 bombing card.
Oh yeah.
It's just screaming thrash metal.
Right. Yes. You mean where he's dressed in khakis and a respectable polo?
Yeah, like a polo shirt and like pleated khakis. Basically looks like a dad dropping his kid off at like
right. Except he also he's also about 84 pounds in it too.
Right. Some great.
We'll save that for the 92 Bauman podcast, but 92 Bauman It's got some great stuff. The Chipper Jones wearing a rugby shirt that's like striped with tucked into his jeans is also a great one. But we won't talk about that now. We're already losing fans with our WWF talk.
Drew just signed off.
All right.
Nah, I'm still here.
All right. We do have to come up with a. Oh, go ahead, Drew. Sorry.
So one thing I do want to talk about is my piece of flooring. Have you guys ordered a piece of flooring from One-on-One Studios yet?
No.
It's hand numbered and signed by the owners of the studio. I don't know if you can see that. But this is actually really cool. And my wife was not thrilled when it came in the mail. I'm like, look, it's a piece of flooring. And she's like, how much did you pay for that? I told her, and she was like, you're an idiot. But it came with a certificate of authenticity. And so it's from One-on-One Studios in North Hollywood. They're renovating the studio. They were at the time selling off like the main studio door and the bar that for the musicians and stuff like that. But this is the drum room where they recorded all the drum tracks for the Black Album, Metallica's Black Album.
No kidding.
And cool. Justice for All. But also a lot of other bands play there, like Yes and Alice in Chains and Ozzy Osbourne.
If you're into flooring that Dave Mustaine never set foot on.
No, Megadeth actually recorded here too. Yeah. Well, Megadeth's drummer recorded here. So
who signed
it? It's signed by
someone from the studio.
Matthias Sorum, the studio owners, Stephen Fisher and Matthias Sorum. Yeah, but it came numbered. And
is that Matthew Sorum or Matthias?
Matthias.
No, not Matt Sorum, the drummer, the Guns N' Roses drummer, and
it could be Matt. It could be Matt for short. I don't know.
No, it doesn't look like the same guy. I'm looking him up. This guy's a young guy.
Yeah, Poison recorded there. Motley Crue, Bon Jovi.
Ricky Rocket is usually known as one of the greatest drummers ever.
In my mind, top 5.
But they might still have that site live, the studio there, because they were trying to sell off as much as the floor that they could. But I actually called them up and said, hey, I placed an order for a floor tile. I need you to do something for me. I need you to go in there and actually find the one that has the most markings and stains and is as torn up as possible. And they found me one. It's pretty funky looking.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So you think that'll fit in a VMG case?
I've been trying to find a way to slab that. Or
once we get the 45s, that might fit nicely into a little 45 case.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'll hold off then for the 45 case. So yeah, let's choose our top 100 for Metallica, the discography. What are we thinking, guys?
Yeah, I don't think this one's as obvious as the others. What do you guys think?
I'm torn.
Drew,
Drew can go first. He hasn't done one in a while.
I'd probably have to say, because of the music and how important it has been for us and so many other people, probably the Black Album.
Yeah, I think I agree. I was thinking Kill 'Em All, but I actually think it's a more impressive get the Black Album because it's that much rarer. It's also condition sensitive because it's black. So I mean, Kill 'Em All, the borders are black too, but it's condition sensitive. It's tough to find. I mean, you'll find Kill 'Em All albums from '83 at record conventions and stuff, and I don't think I've ever seen. I'm trying to think if I ever seen a Black Album just for sale from '91.
What would you guys consider like their breakout album? Kill 'Em All wasn't really a hit at the
Master
time.
Puppets.
Master
Puppets is what put them into the mainstream. Yeah, I mean that was their first one with Elektra, and it was also the one that kind of blasted them into just blasted them beyond just niche metal fans.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would probably I would lean towards that. I mean, the picture disc is, because it's numbered, potentially interesting.
The cover, though, the sleeve is it's just a translucent sleeve.
Yeah.
Like a lot of picture discs are. You don't get the artwork or anything.
I think if you're thinking it for like value, I think the Metal Massacre is very undervalued, and that one, if you can find one, the first pressing is definitely worth picking up. But as far as iconic Metallica albums, I think I would agree the Black Album. I mean, that's cool because I think it was Drew said there's nothing, or maybe it was Butch, nothing special about it. Yet it's a $500 to $1,000 album opened, right. So it's tough to find in good condition. It's their most popular album, and it's from that time when vinyl just wasn't that popular. So it's just naturally rare.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not rare, but.
I was thinking about the Breakout album. That's why Master of Puppets is nothing super special about that release in 86. It was reissued in 87 in a special gatefold reissue, and it was a 45 RPM instead of a regular 33. There's only 10,000 copies of it, but it came out a year after. It was reissued a year after the original Master of Puppets came out. But I thought that was kind of cool one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd have to go black, either black or Kill 'Em All, I'd say.
Yeah, I think we'll settle with black. I think it's the one where even if you're not a heavy metal fan, you should probably, if you had the opportunity to get it to add to your ultimate collection, I would say you'd have to get it the first time. Like if you were just at a record show and someone was selling it, I feel like it's a must buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, it was a nice discussion, and I don't know who we're gonna be talking about next. We'll reveal for episode 9. But definitely, we appreciate everyone's support. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback from the podcast and our work at VMG and everything. And none of this would be possible without everyone listening and supporting us. To support us with submissions, feel free to visit us at vmgvinyl.com. The intro and outro music is provided very graciously by Jake Harwood from Element. What's the band name again? Element.
Actually, they broke up. So now it's just Jake Harwood. Well, they didn't.
Jake Harwood. Okay.
I mean, they're 13, so I don't know how much they break.
Okay.
So Element 88, yeah.
Element 88. Okay.
And you can call him Jake Harwood, but I prefer to call him the next Dave Mustaine.
Before we check off, just made me think of something. I was thinking about the Black Album with Unforgiven on it. Is Unforgiven the only song that you guys can think of that has multiple sequels for it?
I've actually thought of that as having of sequels, of things that have sequels. I remember thinking back when that came out as a sequel that there were very few things that had sequels besides books and movies, and there was also a candy bar that had a sequel. I believe it was called the Milky Way 2. And I remember thinking, well, all right, there's a song, and there's also a sequel to a candy bar. Yeah, the Milky Way had a Milky Way 2. I think
the only one I can think of is Unforgiven 2.
Maybe I'm wrong. Would you consider that with alternate?
It's not really. It's alternate lyrics, so it's not like it's literally Unforgiven and Unforgiven 2, and Unforgiven. I think there's a third one that came out even after that.
Do they progressively get worse in your opinion, like most sequels? Unless we're talking The Godfather,
even the Godfather 2.
No, or about Empire Strikes Back. Come on, Empire Strikes Back is
I love sequels.
Going back to my poserness, Return of the Jedi is by far my favorite.
Return of the King is probably the best Lord of the Rings movie, so that's the third one.
There you go. I never got past. I actually have read all the Lord of the Rings books, but when I went to see Fellowship of the Ring in the theater and was blown away at how awesome it was, and I've never gotten around to watching the next two. Just because I just couldn't, I just never got around to dedicating
4 hours.
4 hours
to each one. So 12 hours.
Yeah, for each one, exactly.
Well, we're next time I'm up in Rhode Island, we're gonna have a Lord of the Rings binge marathon.
Okay. Sounds like a way.
Tell our wives.
Sounds like a great way to spend 8 hours.
Yeah.
Tell our wives we're doing VMG work. What are you guys doing? VMG work.
We'll all dress up like dwarves or something. It'll be fun.
I actually feel like my chances of watching that are almost zero now, because even when Fellowship of the Ring came out, I had the attention span to sit through 3.5 to 4 hours, and now I can't watch a movie. I haven't watched a movie start to finish without watching it in 5 separate segments or just looking up what happens. I cannot sit through a movie anymore. It's just so I don't think I'll ever watch the rest of the Lord of the Rings trilogy or any of the other Hobbit and Hobbit adjacent movies that have come out.
You read the books, so that's the best of that world. So
yeah.
So Paul, were you talking about sequels just for Metallica, or
no, just sequels to songs in general? It's the only song I could think of that has an actual a true sequel to it.
Okay, so and this is my dream episode in the future is about the band Ween, and they have a song called "The Stallion," and there's probably I think 5 or 6 versions of it, and it's like The Stallion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're completely different songs. Like each one is completely different, but the commonality between them is he just touts the fact that he's the Stallion. And it's absolutely amazing. And there's yes, I think also they're a prog rock band. They have some sequels, but they're kind of more like a rock opera kind of thing.
All right. Apparently, Beyonce put out a song which was a sequel to a Destiny's Child song called "Dangerously in Love," and she put out a song called "Dangerously in Love 2."
All
right. So
there are more sequels. That's the only
I got a whole. So there was The Unforgiven 2 and The Unforgiven 3. Oh, the song Tequila had a sequel called Too Much Tequila. But what about The Twist? And then Twist Again.
Twist Again. That's probably the most famous.
That's probably the most famous. Yeah. That's got to be the most famous sequel in music history.
Sounds like a whole new another podcast sequel.
Awesome.
All right. So I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you much. Again, many thanks to Jake Harwood for the intro and outro music. And we will see you here again next time at Vintage Media Grading, the podcast. Thank you very much.